Okay, pasta amigos. Today we have a 1/400 scale airplane by Gemini Jets. It is the Antonov AN-26. And there's a little blurb of text here. We can maybe learn something. I do have Wikipedia ready to go though. 1969 is when it first flew. It has a cargo ramp. The previous AN-24 had a side hatch. So they decided, it's really hard to put cargo inside of a cargo plane using a side hatch. So the AN-26 has the ramp. And the ramp itself could not only just touch down on the ground, but it actually could slide underneath, so you could just back up a pickup truck to the thing and load off of a truck. So I thought that was pretty smart. It was also used by, the military. That's the main reason for the cargo. But commercial airplanes like this Cubana. And Wikipedia is saying it flew up and produced up until 1986, and over 1,400 of them were made. Okay, so that's what we learned there. This is a smaller prop engined plane. I will compare it to a commercial airliner later on. I've never even heard this airplane. I mean this airline, because I've never been to Cuba. So we have our typical 1/400 scale packaging, this blister, and a little piece of plastic keeps that hard plastic from scratching the paint. Sometimes there's plastic below it as well. So they protect the gear, with air. Alright, so these are the actual pictures of this registration, which is CUT1229. Sorry, it's not focusing. I'll get to it later though. Oh man, this is going to be really hard to do. It's so small, this model. Okay, you notice the big side bulge window there for military reconnaissance purposes, I guess. Or possibly there's a third turboprop engine, it's Wikipedia is saying, and that's used for auxiliary power. I wonder if that's what that bulge is. Well, we'll see later when I look at the model in more detail. Always be careful about little antennae on these things. So that is it. Okay. And then here's some military ones. I couldn't find other images of this exact livery showing the bottom and the top. Okay. Looks like the Slovakian or Yugoslavian Air Force. It's one of those Slavic countries. Okay, that is it for photo comparison time. Let's look at this thing just as a model now. Alright, I guess we'll start in the cockpit area. See if I can focus. So now the phone moved. Hold on, I gotta tighten my phone clamp. So the windows are printed as usual, but all the printing is usually really nice on these things. Diecast airplane collectors are really picky. If you think I'm picky in my car reviews, these guys are just a level above in their demands. I think there's actually windscreen wipers printed there. Yeah, there are. So the tiny hatches and panel gaps, I mean, they're thinner than a toothpick, right? These little lines of this nose cone. It's really hard to even focus on this thing. It's so small. Okay. Okay, a little door hatch detail, some sort of access panel. The thing has rubbery tires, I believe. They're like O-rings. Yeah, they do roll. It's weird. I don't know why someone wanted something this small to roll, but it does. And then the landing gears, diecast metal. Okay. So you can see the props, these will spin, they are canted, and then they have yellow painted tips, and then the center there, all the props are equally spaced. Naturally, if you touch them too hard, they will bend and break, well, I don't know if they'll break. I think they're made of metal, but they will bend out of shape. I'm going to blow on this, hold on. right? Okay, so it's kind of a toy. So the registration is nicely printed. The panel gaps are really tight. The white paint seems okay. I will say though, this looks like a casting issue right here. That's a little bit of a blemish. Not enough material is taken off there. The wing here is vertical. The cheaper ones I've had, they are crooked. Alright, let's continue on this side. So you notice this side of the fuselage is perfectly smooth. It's got the side windows. It's got some sort of strakes here. And then the motor, that's the exhaust pipe, I believe, sticking out there. This little gray object here. And there's a little black paint actually on the back side. Is that dimensional? No. Oh wow, it is. Sorry, I can't focus on it, but this pick is actually resting in a recess. So that actually is a recessed exhaust port, which is amazing, really, for something this small. So Gemini Jets, and then there's a big stand hole if you want to have it in flight mode, but it doesn't come with the stand. You'd think they would for the price of these things. Alright, yeah, the landing gear hatch stuff, probably an emergency escape hatch, markers and all that stuff, little grooves. And now we have the big rear hatch. That must be covering up the hinges. Some panel details there of some sort. Okay, so that's the bottom. Sorry, it's always really hard to focus on this. Little tiny circles printed there. Maybe they're like downward facing lights or something. The rear landing gear, it's quite tall. I'm sure this could land in some rough, unpaved runways. I do think this wheel is jacked up. I don't want to touch it though and break it. Alright, so now on this side of the fuselage, you do have this big bulge. I think that's an observation window, just looking at the military photo. I don't think it's an engine. So that's just a port for someone to look out the side of the thing. Oh, this was actually used to drop bombs in a few conflicts. So that's interesting. They put bombs somewhere out on the wings. What I don't see is the bulge of this third motor. Wikipedia said there's a third little turbojet engine in the starboard nacelle. I don't know what starboard and port are, right or left, but I don't see any bulge in this or that. Maybe it's just not visible. Maybe it's just big enough that they could fit a third engine in there. Alright, yeah, registration again, that's nice. The leading edges are painted silver. The wingtips are painted red. These are really nice and thin. Whatever you would call these things. They're so thin, but I think I don't know if they're separate pieces or if they're literally part of the casting of the whole body. See, it seems very continuous. I don't see any break. So if it is part of this main fuselage, I mean, that's one of the thinnest pieces of metal I've ever seen cast. I almost think it's like a photo etch piece. They glued on and then they painted the body. It's just really thick to cover up the gap. But I really don't know. Anyways, the tail fin here. Yeah, nicely printed. Registration again looks nice. So, interesting looking plane. I like it. It's very cool. Very small. Very cute. Alright, let's look at other airplanes that are really small and cute. Here's another cargo plane. I'm going to put out... I have these little name things because I can't remember any of this stuff. I have over 2,000 videos on this channel. So this is by Gemini Jets as well. It's a Shorts 360 boxcar kind of thing. I think you've seen this in like movies, you know, maybe it was in like, there's some like treasure hunting movie where that Spider-Man kid was flying out the back of those, but maybe that's a different plane entirely. This is a Herald 209, Handley Herald 209. Alright. Here's a bigger one. This is a DHC-8Q400. As if anyone's going to remember that. So I think that's a de Havilland. De Havilland is the airline company. But look at this printing, and this is also by Gemini, it seems. I mean, look at the graphic, how they're getting this colorful graphic around not just a tube, but a tube that comes to an uneven cone point there, and an uneven cone point there. So that's the really fascinating part about these aircraft. How did they get the printing to be so nice? Is it hydrographics? Is it tampo printing? I don't know how they finished this one off. I don't see any sort of seam whatsoever. Right? Please leave a comment if you know. Anyways, that's pretty big. We got 3 more. This is called the ATR-72 Nook Airlines. Really, again, a really funky livery Nook Airlines has. That's a Thai airline, by the way. It's like a little pond skipper. They don't fly very far. I can't focus on this thing, but I want to show the livery of this. There we go. So again, look at the multiple colors and how this bird thing actually goes around the object. And this is by JC Wings. Okay. The Handley Herald, I don't know if it has a branding. No, there's no branding. Oh, sadly, it's like scratched up. I don't know if I did that or not. And I think the very smallest plane you can buy in 1/400 scale is this Saab. It's a Saab 340B. Okay. Does it have any branding? Gemini Jets again. So Gemini's got the whole small airplane thing locked down. But they do make bigger aircraft models, that is. So it's got the United Airlines livery. So this is the smallest thing I think you can buy. That's an airplane in 1/400 scale. But correct me if I'm wrong, because I'll get whatever it is. All right, so hold on. I know it's out of focus. I have 2 hands here. All right. So now these are all pond skippers. They're not meant to go very far. But if an Airbus A340-600 is an intercontinental wide body. These are all obviously narrow body airplanes. They're prop planes. Boy, I gotta make room here. And this has a Formula One livery. It's made by Phoenix, which I believe is the best brand out there. So you really get a sense of scaling here in 1/400, right? I mean, all planes are big. They're all bigger than buses and stuff usually. But I mean, commercial jets are just insane. They're like flying houses, flying conference halls, really. Yeah, all right. So how cool are these things? I really like these little airplanes, even though I know nothing about airline aviation. They're just cool to see the different designs and the scaling, really. And so they're well executed, of course. And they should be, because hobby grade 1/400 scale aircraft are very expensive. So, alright, well anyways, I got a few more I think coming in the pipeline. So we'll see you in those reviews. Take care. Bye.